I decided to show Novi, who really loves Greek mythology, Epic the Musical. And I'm going to do one saga per video, just to make it easier on
Now,
myself to edit.
for context for me, there's going to be some complaining, actually quite a lot of complaining, but I haven't actually read the Odyssey in like over a decade now.
It's that, and I just want to see, like, what his thoughts on it are. So, this is the first of the 9 sagas, the Troy Saga. And it basically starts towards the end of the war.
Diomedes will lead the charge. Agamemnon will flank the guards. Menelaus will let our mates through the gates to take the whole city at large. Teucer will shoot any ambush attacking. Little Ajax will stay back. Nestor secure Helen and
Not
protect
quite.
Leo.
Not quite. Agamemnon led the charge. It was his wife kidnapped.
Let me go back a little bit. I think most of it might have been the fact that they were just trying to get it to all rhyme.
Yeah.
Penelope.
They fought because they were told to.
But
They fought because they were told to.
yeah, pretty much. And he was basically forced to be in the battle, even though he really did not want to be there.
Yeah. Then he took an arrow to the.
No, this is
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm being a troll.
And attack!
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think you can scale a wall like that.
You cannot.
Who was that?
He would not have had the time to raise his shield.
Please don't make me do this! Don't make me do this! The blood on your hands is something you won't lose. All you can choose is who's.
That's just me. I don't really like musicals. There's a lot of inaccuracies, things for me to nitpick, but I'm not going to.
Well, I wanted you to kind of nitpick a little bit.
Kind of, yeah, but my nitpicks are like picking the nits of nits. Like, he wouldn't have had time to rise his shield.
Back to the sun of mine. You're as old as he was when I left for war.
Now, if I remember correctly, you tried to act like you were going insane, and then upon them trying to put your son in the way of, what was it, the ox or something? You decided, oh no, I'm not insane, I'm not gonna kill my own son.
You're about the brazen bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
the
happened.
only reason why he went to war, for the most part.
Was to stop that from happening. Yeah. Actually, there wasn't even a charge. Now that I think about it, it was because it was a nighttime op. So like the entire purpose was that they slipped out and then they just like quietly stabbed people in the back.
But when does a comet become a meteor? When does a candle become a blaze? When does a man become a monster?
I know one nitpick that I feel like you're just raring to comment, and I think this is like the last one that really has it, besides when Athena pops up, is these helmets.
Yeah. That was a very popular Roman style of helmet, not Greek.
Because I know that like this is like very well known, but I know it's because of the Romans, because when I made your one VTuber model, that's not going to actually see the light of day because it's not that great, and I'll just remake it later. We were commenting on this.
Mm-hmm.
Because even in, like, 300, it's not technically historically accurate because it's more the Roman version. It's not the actual Spartan helmet.
The actual Spartan helmet was pretty plain. Like, there was no plumes of horsehair, no extra things. It just was effectively cheek and head protection.
Also, wasn't it the Greek version with, like, the ears cut out?
It had the ears cut out so they could hear.
Okay.
The other thing was the horse plume. In the event that it was actually worn, it was worn by officers. On top of that, the actual plume itself didn't go from front to back. It went from left to right. And the purposes of doing it from left to right... Actually, I don't remember what the purpose of doing it from left to right was. I think it was just an intimidation tactic.
Because I think, if I'm correct, the reason why the Romans once did it that way is because it reminds me of a chicken. Like a chicken's plume.
Yeah.
I don't know, the actual Greek ones look really weird.
Yeah, the actual Greek ones are really strange.
So I think that's kind of the reason why Hollywood and everyone does the Roman versions, because looking back like this looks cooler than what the actual Greeks actually had as officers.
Yes. And the only reason that officers even got the horse plume, now that I'm remembering it properly, is it was basically just a way to say, shut the fuck up, I'm in charge.
Hey, like, I've got the fancy plume, listen to me.
Pretty much. If any soldier, let's say Spartan or Athenian or whatever, was to say, I think we should go this way and flank from here, the one in the horse plume can go, no. Because they could afford it. So, a very common misunderstanding of history is that soldiers were loyal to the state. Not really. Every military was kind of just mercantile. Effectively, everybody just did what the rich wanted. The only exception to that was Spartan. And they were loyal to the state. That's kind of what the purpose of Spartans was that it's an army that actually focuses on what its nation needs, not what its ruler needs, not what its kings and lords need. It focused on what the people need. Which is why throughout history you can see a lot of Spartans, like a lot of Spartan history is expansion or retractions, or, like a lot of Spartan wars were never pointless until they started accepting Helots, and then they kind of swelled to such a size that they couldn't really. They spread themselves too thin, and then
Wasn't this entire Trojan War about the Spartan prince who was supposed to be getting her?
No, the Spartan king Agamemnon.
Yeah.
He had already married her at that point.
And Odysseus already owed him a favor because he married his sister?
Yes.
Does a ripple become a tidal wave? When does the reason become the blame? When does a man become a monster?
Man becomes a monster when the gods demand it to. That's the entirety of. Sorry, that's the entirety of Greek. Like, I want to say tragedy, because that's really all the Greeks wrote was just tragedies. But like, you can't ask when does a man become a monster, because that's the entire purpose of a Greek tale of why Greeks, like the Grecians, do things.
It's also a recurring theme throughout this entire musical.
The entire reoccurring theme throughout this musical is literally answered
By the Greeks.
by the Greeks themselves. When does a man become a monster? Literally, when your god demands it to.
I'm just a man.
It wasn't actually him that did it. It was, I think, one of. Was it Paris who stole the wife?
Yeah, Paris was the one who stole the wife and was the son of Hector.
Yeah, it was one of Paris's sisters that did it.
Oh.
She did it purely based on the fact that Troy had already fallen. If they leave this child now, that child will be raised in such utter torture as a slave that it's better to just kill them before they even wake up. But there was multiple purposes to the drop. There was one that was like belief in the gods. Part of it was, if this child is to survive, Zeus, the king of gods, will send down Zephyr, the west wind, and save her. If this child is not meant to survive, then so be it. But I hope the child doesn't survive, because they don't deserve the pain they will go through growing up.
Like I said, there are some creative liberties in this. That is basically it for being on Troy. This is Full Speed Ahead by Woofy the Witch. They are the one that kind of got me into it, because I watched them for other animations that they did. And since I still followed them, it was basically what got me into it.
Okay.
600 men under my command, with only one goal in mind: make it back alive to our homeland. 600 men, 600 miles of open sea. But the problem's not the distance, it's what lies in these. Speed ahead, full speed ahead.
Fun fact. He's on about having 600 men under his command. About 400 of them are slaves.
I'm guessing they're Ithacan slaves?
Just slaves from basically any campaign they've got. Some of them would be Trojans, some of them would be Ithacans, some of them would be from somewhere in Africa, some of them would probably be from like Germany, some of them would be Asian. It doesn't matter, they're slaves.
Okay, that makes sense for what's gonna happen later on.
Captain, you really got 600 men.
From my remember and knowledge, Eurydice is the guy who married Odysseus's sister?
Yes, I believe so. I might be wrong, but I believe so.
I will say another thing that's throughout all of these animations, for the most part, Odysseus and like all the other characters, for the most part, with most of the animators, are their designs are more based off of their voice actors than historically accurate.
That's completely fine. Problem is we can't really get a decent picture of what they actually looked like. So I'm fine with creative liberties for their like body types and designs. There's no issue there for that.
It's that, and just the animators have different art styles.
Yeah, as you know, my issue comes from like certain historical inaccuracies rather than others.
Captain, apologies. Look! There in the distance, I see an island. I see a light that faintly glows. Maybe there are people lighting a fire. Maybe they'll share some food, who knows? Something feels off here. I see fire, but there's no smoke. I say
Glasses? No,
we don't have.
For context, glasses were technically a thing back then. I don't think necessarily prescription wise, but I do know that there were glasses, but we don't know.
We know how they were made, but they weren't made around the Greek time. They were more of a Roman invention.
Yeah.
And what they could actually do to make glasses is, because it wasn't really about the glasses, it's the fact that because they reflect or refract light, you can get a decent zoom with them.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about glass or like plastics or whatever. It was more to do with jewelry looking and like looking towards the stars. Because again, like gems and diamonds and things like that were very important. Diamonds weren't as expensive as they
are now.
Yeah, like they weren't as expensive then as they are now.
Full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. We're up and away we go. We're up and away we go. We're up and away we go. We're up and full speed ahead.
Contrary to popular belief, the Greeks used armor.
Yeah, I think in most of these, I don't think they draw armor in any of these.
Which again is yes, it's anachronistic, but it's something that bugs me because they don't show that fact. Like the armor was the most important thing in Greece. Weapons, sure, you can kind of just make a weapon out of basically anything. They didn't mind if you had to use a club or a stick that was sharpened into a spear, or hell, they didn't mind if they got a spear tipped with titanium. It didn't matter. The fact was, a weapon's a weapon. You can make it out of anything. Armor, on the other hand, had to be strong and light.
I think the next one is probably, I think, the best one for that then.
Okay. Because like a common thing that you see in any sort of depictions of Greece or Grecian history is Spartans didn't use armor.
Yeah.
When in fact Spartans used more armor than anyone else. Not because they could afford it, but because they understood that one soldier is still a soldier, and everyone in Sparta is a soldier. It's a weird way to phrase what I mean, but it means that no one in Sparta, or no Spartan in Sparta, was expendable. Now, sacrificing oneself, it's a little bit different. I'll get into that rant later.
This one is Open Arms by Formerly Human. This is... So there's a little bit of a difference between this art style, but I think this is the best art style for of wanting armor. I will also say I am not a fan of polities.
Huh? I can tell you're getting nervous, so do yourself a service and try to relax your friend.
So far, my only issue with the armor is the only
The
issue I have
helmet
with
again.
no, well, other than the helmet, it's the pauldrons. They didn't have anything on their shoulders because they felt it limited their movement. And to be fair, at the time, it kind of did.
I'm guessing that was also another Roman thing.
Yeah, pauldrons were like they had invented them. They like Athenians used pauldrons, but Ithacans and Spartans and basically everyone else refused to use them because they felt it limited their movement. Sometimes you have to be able to lift your arm above your head completely to spear someone. But yeah, so far, other than that,
We'll survive what we get into. I know that you're tired of the war and bloodshed. Tell me, is this how we're supposed to live? We have a chance for some adjustment. Give it a try, it's not that hard. I'm telling you, this life is amazing when you greet it with open arms.
yeah, they would just not put their armor into water. Armor rusts.
It would just rust so badly. I think it's just a thing with this song that they always put a waterfall and have Polites jump with Odysseus, and that's just really weird for me.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But like,
I think it's mainly because this song reminds people of like the Lion King song.
Yeah. So the other thing is like the belief that Poseidon was against the war comes from the fact that because Ithaca was a coastal city, by the time they'd actually all geared up and shit, rust had actually started to already encroach upon their armor and weapons. The metal ones, anyway. Sea air rusts shit way quicker than you realize. I know, it's stupid.
Stay back.
For some reason in this, the Lotus Eaters are not portrayed as humans. They're portrayed as these little, like, puppet-like things.
Which is really weird.
I don't know.
100 friends are waiting for us to show our faces. Stay back.
400 slaves and 200 friends.
Yep.
600 friends? You mean 400 forced friends? Sure.
Another issue I have is the fact that Polites is being like, oh, well, can you just be open and accepting to, like, new things? Were you just in a war? How did you come out of the war with this kind of retrospect?
This motherfucker could be like, oh, that's a battlefield. Start skipping through it. So he's just gonna start skipping through it and be like, spread love, no!
Yeah, his character seems off to me to have, but, like, his entire thing is just, like, make friends, not kill people.
So, if I'm remembering the original, if I'm remembering my original read of the Odyssey correctly, he was sort of newer. He wasn't as battle hardened as everyone else. But he still had that mind. He still had that thing where it wasn't a case of like he wasn't a make love not war kind of person. He was still very much a soldier. But he fell into that place of I understand where you're coming from, but I have to do what I have to do, and so do you.
This will be a reoccurring thing, and this is my biggest nitpick of the entire thing is they use polities throughout the entire story to basically yes to basically yeah, the entire crew ends up dying, but you already know that.
No. Well, yeah, obviously, but I mean, like, relatively quickly. Wasn't he one of the first to die?
You'll see in the next saga.
Yeah.
But they use him as the reoccurring theme of, I guess, innocence.
Which makes sense. Again, he was, like, by the time he showed up, the war had already been raging for about 8 or 9 years, so he wasn't there for very long.
Yeah, it's just I find his character just I don't want to say annoying, but off. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I said, like he very much was still a soldier. He understood his position, he understood his rules. He understood that he's there to kill and die if necessary. He wasn't innocent, but he did have that more understanding essence to him. He had that understanding that he's there to kill or die. So be what it is and do what makes you happy in the short term before you go and die.
But look at the way this fruit is glowing and filled with glowing seeds. It took me a while to notice just what kind of fruit they eat. It's a lotus, it controls your mind and never lets you free. That's what we'd get with open arms. Tell me where there's other food to eat.
A cave, cave.
A cave! You're saying there's a cave where we could feast. And where do we sail to find this food-filled cave?
So the Lotus Eaters weren't helpful.
No.
Whatsoever.
No.
They were actually extremely pushy for them to eat the lotus and stay. So fun fact. The lotus that was or is being referenced isn't actually a lotus. It's more of an allegory for addiction.
It's that, and it kind of reminds me. The Lotus Eaters specifically remind me of the kinds of, like, drugs that make you, like, high and just not care about the world, which is basically what the Lotus is, in this sense, is just something that makes you not care and basically makes you addicted to it.
Yes, that's its entire purpose. It's supposed to warn you about addictions. Again, alcohol was a very big addiction. Poppy was a very big addiction. You know, opium was like a huge addiction. Things like that. Like,
Here's how to start. Greet the world with open arms. Greet the world with open arms. Greet the world with open arms. You can relax, my friend.
There's one more. And this one is by Mercy. So they technically they did a version of the last song. I just wanted to do a different animator for the last song.
okay.
I feel like this song is gonna kind of help you with, like, it's the reverse opposite of everyone's opinion on polities, I guess.
Okay.
And I think their version is a little bit better, but I think you said that that's still the Roman outfit.
Yeah.
My life has one mission. Create the greatest warrior. I had a challenge, a test of skill, a magic bar only the best
So already I can kind of already guess that Polites was not actually involved with the boar.
Yeah. So, an interesting fact was that through historical records, it's thought that Athena's perfect warrior would have been someone who would never have to lift a sword.
I
Think about it
Yeah.
like this:
yeah.
you may like the idea that they can lift a sword or use a spear or use weapons in general. That's fine; they're allowed to use weapons, but the purpose isn't that they can fight every battle. The purpose was that they need not to.
I think that will come up later. But I guess
Yeah.
for now they're doing the thing of Athena wants like the greatest warrior type aspect, but later on that theme changes with her.
He is a warrior of the night.
Show yourself. I know you're watching
So
me.
then that
Show
line
yourself.
previously, the line that's supposedly sung by Athena, the warrior of the mind, is the concept. It's the fact that they can go to a war, any battlefield, and win purely through tactical assessments. They could just look outside their tent, see how the battle's going. Anyone could be a warrior. That was kind of just Greece. Anyone could be a warrior. Any man at any time could volunteer for military service.
Yeah.
Except Spartans, they were basically told you either serve the military or you're not a Spartan.
Yep.
Anyway, so that was that. Now, the purpose was that not every man is smart enough to go, hey, I think we should go and attack them from over here, not over there.
Nah, don't be modest. I know you're a goddess, so let's be honest. You are Athena. Badass in the arena. Unmatched, witty, and queen of the best strategies we've seen.
If you're looking for a mentor, I'll make sure your time's well spent.
Sounds like a plan. Goddess and man, best is a friend.
He'll see where it ends.
I don't like how it went rap.
Yeah, it kind of went rap there for a second.
I don't like that.
I think it was mainly just to hype up Athena.
Don't get me wrong. I like Athena as a god or goddess, but like, don't worry. I don't know.
Don't forget that you're a warrior of a very special kind. You are a warrior of the mind.
So that visual there kind of bugs me because the only Greek goddess. So my biggest issue with this, like this imagery, is the fact that the only Greek goddess depicted with wings as such is Nike, the goddess of victory. What's being shown there isn't Athena, it's Athena's best friend.
I think it's mainly just because everyone just portrays her with as an owl, so they just keep using owl wings.
I mean, yeah, but again, that's kind of the thing. Is like the only gods with wings are
Nike and Hermes.
Nike and Hermes. The only reason Nike is because her entire thing is supposed to be a swift victory.
Because the weird thing that I don't really understand about the Trojan is, so Odysseus was like a follower of Athena, but they gave Troy a horse, and a horse is a symbol of Poseidon.
So the purpose of it was that it was supposed to deceive them. What they were doing was effectively erecting the monument, the symbol of Poseidon, as if to say, we're going to sacrifice this. So, like, we're going to sacrifice this to Poseidon, so he grants us a safe journey home.
That didn't work very well, did it?
No, because they ended up not actually.
Odysseus was the only one who ever made it home alive.
Yeah, because Odysseus, if I'm remembering correctly, was the only one to rightfully call out, we shouldn't be using a symbol of the gods like this.
Yep. And it bit everyone in the ass.
Everyone just went, shut up, Odysseus! So he was the one who called out that they shouldn't be doing that. Everyone told him to shut up, get in the horse. So he got in the horse. It's likely the only reason that Poseidon tormented the crew was because they all just told Odysseus to shut up and get in the horse.
Goddamn.
Odysseus getting tormented by Poseidon is just an unfortunate side effect, but the gods don't really care about unfortunate side effects. Yeah, he was the only one to rightfully call out not to do it, so he should be the only one to make it home. But if he's harmed in the process, that's his own problem. He shouldn't be traveling with them. That's his own fault.
I think a lot of this will be explained in either the next it will be explained in the next few sagas.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit more in this version, but yeah, that is the end of the Troy saga. The next saga is the Cyclops.
Okay, we'll have to do that some other time.
Yep.